I saw in an interview you did recently that's on the Prague Writers Festival website that you referred to your first attempt as childish. I don't know if you recall stating that, but in one of the interviews they said, my first attempt at a book, my first childish attempt at a book. And my question for you is, for a beginning writer, because this is a writers' festival, not a book festival, how can it be anything other than childish, and what do you want it to be?
I want to be a good man at first, a good human being. I think I always want to be a lover. And that's my first point with my relationship with the existence, to love it. And I think I still not good lover. And I have a lot of dreams in writing. And when I'll be good lover, maybe I will be better like a writer. And I think that's what world need now. Need love and wisdom. That's what human beings want now. What is the essential needs in this world is to love. To think that life is beautiful. Life is valuable. And it can be better. It can be more beautiful. And our literature can be more beautiful. And literature can play a very important role to change this world, to change the people, to make them good lovers.
The one thing I love about this festival is I have the golden opportunity to meet new people from new cultures. Is there a tradition in Islam, in Egypt, even in colloquial Egyptian, something your grandmother taught, that would be akin to this philosophy in Buddhism, but in your own words or in your own experience?
What I'm saying it's not pure Buddhism. It's more related to the Egyptian understanding of Islam. In the West, you know, just the political Islam and some reading of it. But when I have a chance to explain a little about what Egyptian Islam means songs, means Sufi trend, mean a deep relationship with the universe. We have a lot of great poets like Ibn al-Farid, like Ibn al-Arabi, and it's not in dead books, it's not poetry in books, but it is in the street. In shops and coffee shops, you can hear Sufi songs everywhere. And very, very simple people, even they can't read, they can't write, they can't go to school or university. But it's very distinguished to see them enjoy with the Sufi song, which is in standard Arabic. It's very, very difficult to understand. Ancient language, deep meaning. I just want to give a little bit idea about the context of this chapter of my novel, Black Magic. This story is about a love story, and the main character is a cameraman who's working in Egyptian TV, and he fell in love with a little bit an old woman. And all the novel is in first person pronoun, so he's speaking about his interview with her. الليلة رأيتها للمرة الثانية. رأيتها بعيني رأسي.
The night I saw her for the second time, saw her with the eyes in my head, not through a camera. I wasn't working. I'd been invited to watch, drink, have a good time, dance, and join Newman and Claudia in the celebration of their new relationship. She had an ordinary face, like any I might see in the street without giving it any further thought. passing it as though it had never existed. But I stared at her face, at the half of her body that was visible to me, at her arms and at her hands. I was searching for whatever it was that made my camera dwell on her so long that the day when we were filming the third Millennium Conference, Newman had jabbed me in the belly with his elbow. At the time, I felt no pain. I was too absorbed in my own astonishment, in my concentration on the details of her face. Tonight, I could watch her at length, observing her from my position between Newman and Claudia, who were deep in a conversation about the ancient Egyptians. The most notable feature of her face was the straight thin nose, which sloped down simply and elegantly from just below the point between her eyes to the top of her upper lip, a pink, slightly full upper lip with a lower lip that was plump and bright red. Her mouth was conspicuous and somewhat large, but always attractive, whether she was speaking or silent or showing annoyance by sticking out her lower lip. She took her glasses and started fiddling with them, putting one arm in the corner of her mouth, which made her look ill and at ease and unhappy with the company of her friends. She raised her face and then looked toward the dance floor. Then I discovered something I hadn't taken in properly the first time. All the powers of attraction and repulsion, of connection and rejection, of betrayal, irony and passion that this woman possessed lay in her eyes, which were wide and black and shone with a quiet brilliance, an equivocal flux of weakness, veracity and seduction. I averted my gaze well away from them, though this time, too, they had failed to see me. Her movements shrieked with boredom as she sat between two men of around 40 and two women who were familiar to me. I would sometimes see them at the Swiss restaurant around downtown or at Greek club. She fidgeted, her mind apparently far away, pretended to listen to their talk, tossed down her drink, nodded her head. She shot quick looks of appraisal at the dancer, as though sketching a general view of everyone for her own private purposes. The venerable Greek club was crowded and noisy, an exploding bombshell of music, movement and speech. It was the final night of the music festival put on by the remnants of various foreign communities, Greek, French, Italian, that remained in Egypt, and the staff of European embassies. The Brazilian group, which was performing that night, blasted out its music in total self-absorption, indifferent to the strange mix of people that international audience united in its love of song, dance and drink. It consisted of 5 youths, their bronze faces shining beneath the spotlights, their long hair curly and agitated, hanging down their backs, their chests and shoulders naked, their strong, well-knit muscles as clearly defined as those of bodybuilders. 4 of them had guitars to their chests, while the 5th was seated among the drums and percussion instruments, moving gracefully and rapidly from one to another. They played for themselves, for their own private delight in the music, in the homage to their singer. A huge, light-footed, vivacious woman who flirted and joked with her players, teasing them with unexpected transitions from one song to another, then stopping suddenly, letting out a terrible wild laugh, as though she had remembered something that would upset them, and starting on a new song. Then, once they were absorbed in following the new tune, they'd find she'd suddenly gone off on a crazy new tangent and launched her powerful voice in some other song they weren't expecting, making them yell and cry and stop playing, at which she'd laugh even more bodily, to the cries of the reanimated audience, and gesture with her hand as though to convince them that she would stick with the new tune, though as soon as she began again, she'd go back to playing around. In this fashion, she fed them as jazz, rock and roll, samba, pop, playing with her musicians, the audience, till everyone who was dancing, male and female, young, middle-aged and old, white, yellow, black and brown, went wild. Bodies, heavy and middleweight, were going crazy, moving and inventing chaotic dances, swings, and shakings in an attempt to keep up with the swoops, dives, and transitions of the belligerent singer's amazing Brazilian musical ladder, and saluting her and the players alternately with whistles of enthusiasm, applause, and laughter. They danced and caterwauled like wild animals just released from their cages, and were at their happiest when the group showed their gratitude for their extraordinary response with an encore of the noisiest numbers. But the only whose large body moved with grace and harmony, as though she were a solid block of music, was she, the plump brown singer with the large breasts and the sensual lips.